most people didn't treat me like a black woman. So that talk didn't have to happen for me.
We've got the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to talk about Harry and Meghan. Yeah, you thought we was going to let you slip? Oh, no, we've got opinions and some very balanced ones, too. You don't want to miss it on this episode.
So what's this podcast about?
Somebody got to keep it real, you know.
Reclaiming my time by winning.
Keep my wife's name.
Catch me outside, how about that?
You're talking to
Unabashed hater.
my style is impetuous.
King Kong ain't got.
You come in with some nice waves of the black school.
You're average looking at best.
I took offense to that.
Robert.
You ain't got the answer, Sway.
I have you beat.
You now have the unmitigated gall.
Oh, look who's Bazak with me once again, ready to go wild with her leopard print, Chevalerie.
Rare.
How you been, Chevalerie?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
Well, glad, you're OG in this.
Yes.
It's always great when we could talk about stuff that we like and dislike.
Yes.
But great to have you on. For anybody who was doubting that this would happen, we're back. We're working it out, and we're talking about stuff that we both feel passionately about.
Yes,
probably for different reasons. Harry 100%. And Meghan, right?
Mashed potato.
There you go.
Do the alligator. That was our first dance. It was so fun. It was just spinning like a whirlwind. It was so great.
So, full disclosure, I was fully ready to hate on this Netflix series, this docuseries, but I was like, no, go into it with an open mind, but before I get my hater vision on, what is your general perceptions? You've watched, 3 episodes, all 3 that's available, right?
Yeah, the first 3 that have been out. And if I wasn't Team Meghan Markle before, I for sure am Team Harry. How could you not be?
I'm going to tell you.
I cannot wait to hear. I was like, there's no way Eric watched this and doesn't feel a little bit differently, hopefully, about Harry and Meghan. How could you not?
It reaffirmed everything that I thought about them.
What?
Yes.
Oh, no.
And,
Which
and
is
part
what?
of it
Which
is
is what?
I understand that both of our biases coming into play. You're pro them, I'm against them. And so how we receive this documentary is going to be shaped by our bias. But let me just say this. It is entertaining documentary. Shout out. They got a lot of archival footage in here.
Yeah.
They got a lot of great pictures of young, ugly duckling Meghan, and you watch her flower into this beautiful woman. They took a lot of video of their courtship and when they were doing what's called Megxit, getting ready to leave. So, for those people who feel like Meghan had this whole plan to, I'm going to marry this prince, but then I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to get back to Hollywood. This is good supporting evidence for that. And the fact that the documentary, and any good documentary, it's kind of like where journalism meets movie. And this is not objective at all. There's no voices. There's no voices at all that say, well, do you think you should have done this? Even in The Last Dance, even though it's heavily pro Michael Jordan, you see Michael Jordan do asshole things, and he talks about it well, this is why I did that, you know what I mean? And you hear the guy off camera say, why'd you do that? In every great documentary, the protagonist is still challenged, and that never happens. At least in these first 3 episodes, it's very much a puff piece on Harry and Meghan's relationship, and the antagonist is the British media. And there's no accountability. Meghan acts as though she had no knowledge of the British royal family at all, which is impossible.
I don't think she acts like she had no knowledge. I mean, they start off the first episode with showing this old clip.
I'm exaggerating.
I know.
But she says she never Googled Harry. Get the F out of here.
Wait, you mean before or after they met? I'm sure she Googled
after
him.
They met.
After they met, of course. I'm sure she did.
Right.
I can't believe that you still feel like you're anti-Harry and Meghan. I'm actually shocked after watching it. I was like, for sure. After seeing what I saw in these first 3 episodes, Eric's view. Now, granted, I will say this, though. It is just their version. It is their side of the story. We likely will never hear the royal family side of the story. They're not going to come out and put out a documentary or a podcast or whatever. But after seeing what I saw, I thought for sure that you would change your mind a little bit, at least a little bit, in favor of Harry and Meghan and what they went through.
So it's no mystery that, it's not surprising that the royal family didn't speak on camera, right? That's not something they would do anyway. But where the long time royal aides, people have worked for the families for decades, who maybe they retired or something, and maybe they could speak in defense of the institution or their perception of what's happening with Harry and Meghan. There's none of that. There's Meghan's friends. You don't even have many of Harry's friends. This is like a Meghan production, and he's just sitting there like a simp, just playing his part in the whole thing, just not realizing that he got caught up. He got sprung, and this Hollywood woman, she went and she got her crown, and she came back, and now she's going to continue leading her Hollywood activist life. A friend of mine probably accurately predicted that they'll be divorced in a couple of years, and she'll go on with her newfound fame. She was on Suits before. I love TV, but never has it occurred to me to watch Suits. You know what I mean?
See,
and now she is like everyone, in the Western world knows who Meghan Markle is. So she came up despite what she wants to say about how she's being treated. With much great power comes great responsibility. And this is the deal. When you're like a global icon, media is going to be in your face. And the British media, of course, is going to be very nasty when it comes to the royals. You should have known this, because me and Meghan are the exact same age. I'm not a big royals person. I've never watched The Crown. I don't really.
I'm not either.
But I'm aware of how Princess Diana died. I'm aware of how contentious that whole thing was. I'm aware of how catty the royal family has been. So, I think
that there's a difference between knowing about it and then having to live through it. I think there's a huge difference between that. And I don't think you hear both of them say, you hear her say oh, well, he tried to prepare me. But even he said he didn't think it would be as bad. He didn't think it would be this intense. There are posters where they are calling him a race traitor. I don't think that he was prepared, even though he knew what was going to happen to her based off of what had happened to previous people, including his mother. I just don't think that there's any way to prepare for the amount of press, but also the amount of scrutiny that they were going to get. And you saw all the different headlines talking about Straight Outta Compton and calling her all these different racial slurs. I don't think that there's a way to prepare yourself mentally for the fact that you are going to be hounded and chased. In the one clip where they're talking about, they were paying off her neighbors to put cameras into her. I don't think anyone can prepare for what was about to happen, despite the fact that he had already gone through it with his mother. And for him, I disagree with your friend. I think Harry has given up so much and because of what happened to his mother, there's no way that he's going to divorce Meghan. He's married this woman. He's given up his royal title for her. They have children together. I don't see them. I don't see them ever divorcing.
Valerie,
my romantic friend. I will eat some humble pie. I know.
My romantic friend. All right, so here's what's happening right now.
And trust me, I was all caught up in the first episode where they're showing their love story and all the pictures that they took, and I loved it.
Sweet violins. All right, so here's what's happening at their current stage in their relationship. So they've gotten past the honeymoon stage now. Now they're kids. Now they're young kids in the house. And now life continues to go on. So now career stuff is happening. And what really made me think this is a big moment is when the Queen died. Because now Harry goes back And there's a moment where Harry's with his family and Meghan's not there. Meghan makes a few appearances, but there's some things she's not invited to. And there has to be those moments where Harry is kind of missing the closeness of his family and the experiences that he's had growing up in that household. And what that is, that's planting resentment in him, right? Like, I've given up this. So now when his life in Los Angeles with Meghan, it has to be, there cannot be any major hiccups, because what's going to happen is that resentment is going to come back up if there's like big challenges in their life. Because he's going to be like, I gave up all this for you, blah, blah, blah. And she could be like, I thought you wanted that. He'd be like, no, I wanted you. You know, I'm doing this for you. And she was like, you're not doing this for me. He was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Of course I'm doing this for you.
I love this reenactment.
But what I'm saying is, he even said in the documentary, she gave up everything and now I've given up everything. So he knows he's given up everything. And so this has to work out for him in a way that he approves of, because it's definitely, you know, working out for Meghan. But if there's a big challenge, all those little like resentments are going to bubble up. And I feel like that's what's going to happen.
What you're failing to realize is that I think he has the life that he wants, that he was willing to give up his title and all that comes with being a royal, because he was doing other things. That's what drew him to Meghan in the first place. They were they were both, you know, giving back. They're really into charity. He basically married his mother is how I see it, because in Meghan he sees his mom, and they have like interest. And so all the things that he wanted to do, remember he talks about being in the military and all the things that he saw, all the time that he spent in Africa, none of that has anything to do with what he did as a royal. So I think the life that he has with her is the life that he wants. And he won't resent her for leaving that family and all that comes with it behind.
But what you're failing to think about is that he does have blood relatives that...
He does.
You know, he grew up with, he probably has aides that have been there for generations that he views as like aunties and uncles. You know, the person that we would call TT Linda, you know, he has an aide, a royal aide, who, even though she bows to them, he has these connections. And so Meghan and him connect on this level. But what happened is he had to make a choice, because she said, I cannot exist in this life. I feel threatened. So now he's being challenged as a protector. So he has to, as a good man, choose to protect his family. So, but that's always going to be in the back of his head. Like, I gave up, you know, these people that I was close to for you. So now she has to make it worth it for him. So when that challenge comes up, but anyway, back to the documentary.
The only thing I will say that I do hope happens is the one blood relative is, I do hope that he somehow is able to salvage some type of relationship with his brother.
Exactly.
Because as a mom, and also as someone that has a sister that I'm very, very close to, I can't imagine not ever talking to my sister again. And I'm sure that their mother, you know, were she alive, would be extremely disappointed in the fact that her two sons, I have two sons, it would break my heart to know that the two of them weren't speaking, didn't have a relationship with each other. So if anything, you know, I'm sure it would also be great if he had a relationship with his father, but definitely the one with his brother, because they went through all of that together.
And we're 90% sure from the amount of headlines coming out about William being the one who was like always asking him, you're moving into this kind of fast, you're doing this, you know, she needs to kind of fall in line with more tradition, you know, like, so we know that William and Charles represent the traditional values of the family. And so that's in direct conflict with what Meghan wants. And to some extent what Harry wants, right? Because I'm sure he wants relationships on both sides, but he had to choose. So now I've turned my back on my brother, my father, and all these other people that we don't even know about for you. So now she has to make it worth it for this man. You know what I mean? Because he's done his part, right? So now she has to always be conscious, like, if I want to stay in this relationship, I have to make it worth it for him. But I mean, as far as the documentary, you know, it's entertaining for sure, I think, but it does not make me feel any more sympathetic towards them because, again, where is the accountability? Like, you know, Michael Jordan at one point was like the most famous person in the world. You know, he had to step away from the media at times. He had to insulate himself at times, but he focused on his passion, the game. You know, I feel like a lot of what Harry and Meghan is putting out there is like us versus the media, but using the media to do it. So it's like you're complaining about this thing that's giving you this vast fame and fortune. It's like, this is the deal. You made your deal with the devil. Like, this is it.
But I don't think he didn't make that deal. He was born into that deal. And it's obviously something that he did not want to be a part of, because this whole thing with him and the media, and I thought they did a great job of explaining the power that the British media has and its connection to the royal family. But this isn't something that his disdain and for the media didn't just happen when he met Meghan. It had been happening since he was a little kid. When they go back and they're showing them on that ski trip when he's a little kid and they're all sitting there forced to smile, you see Princess Diana go over and get in the face of the journalists and say, hey, like, we're on this vacation or holiday, like, leave me and my family alone for a little.
So quit altogether. Quit for real. Go to Botswana. You love Botswana so much. Mm-hmm. You know, go be, you know, a full-time missionary. Go be a full-time philanthropist.
I think that's what they're doing.
They're making bank off of
these
podcasts,
the Netflix deal, sit down with Oprah.
So they're complaining about the military. I mean, not the military, the media, but they're relying on the media to maintain this high standard of living. They could walk away totally and be like, look, I'm not playing this game anymore. I will go be a farmer. I'll go live on a little homestead. You know, I will write books. I will just focus on volunteering and changing the world. I'll go be like Malala, you know, but no, they are still playing the game and they're just spinning it more to what they're comfortable with. So, you know,
see that I disagree. I think they are. I do agree with you that they are relying on the media, but they are distancing themselves from the British media. They're relying on us, on the US media. That press coverage they're fine with, and they should be, because it's pretty much all been positive. But they're distancing themselves from the media and, you know, the whole Straight Outta Compton and, you know, all of the negativity about her race and all of the things being said about, like, now that didn't come from the media, but even distancing themselves from the family and, like, how dark will the kids be, and, like, they don't want to be any part of any of that. Anything across the pond, they don't want to be a part of. Anything here on USL, they're cool with.
Let's talk about race, how dark the kids will be. I feel like a lot of that could have been taken out of context. So we have to assume it was either Charles or William that said, how dark would the kids be,
or
right?
Kate.
Kate wouldn't have said that to Harry, right? So
that's a good point.
They said it was somebody said it to Harry, right? So it was his dad or his brother. Mm-hmm. Now, how many conversations? Now it could have. Now, of course, you have to assume that there was some racism in there, right? But then it's also a natural curiosity. Well, I mean,
a lot of
when you had kids, people want to know, what do you think the baby's going to look like? Who do you think the baby's going to look like? That is a natural. Like, I think there's a difference levels to this shit,
who
right?
The baby is going to look like versus how dark is the baby going to be. And their question, and the reason why they're asking that question is because they know that Meghan is mixed. They know that her mother is dark skinned. And so for them, it was, if the baby comes out and it's a mix of Harry and Meghan, then we're good, because the baby will be almost white. But if there's some trace of her mother comes in here and the baby is darker, then we've got black babies. Like, we've got actual black babies in the royal family. And that to them would be an issue. Like, their kids right now, they look white. They fit into their aesthetic perfectly. But if suddenly you've got this whole white aesthetic and then you got these two little brown, you know, babies right here, then it's like, oh, wait a minute, we don't want that in the picture.
This is stupid. They should have known, if they'd known any mixed people, which they probably don't, how the babies would look. But I think, you know, in this post-Twitter world, we lump all racism together. Like if someone makes one slightly, you know, let's just say unwoke, anything that's insensitive, then it's like, he's a full racist. He's a full misogynist. He's a, you know, a full anti-Semite. I think we got to understand that there's levels to this shit. So them asking, I wonder how dark the baby's going to be. Okay, it's racist, but it's not marching in Charlottesville racist. It's not redlining these black neighborhoods racist. You know what I mean? It's not General Robert Lee racist. So I think there's levels to this shit. We got to keep in mind, like we should be able to offer grace at some point, right? Like, where is the grace that's being offered? You know, like, of course this family is racist. She should know that marrying into it. So speaking of race, you know, did it bother you at all that she was raised by her mom's nucleus of black women, but she clearly has leaned away from the black community up until she needed the black community's help to escape the royals? Does that bother you?
It doesn't bother me.
Very different to be a minority but not be treated as a minority right off the bat. Obviously now people are very aware of my race because they made it such an issue when I went to the UK, but before that, most people didn't treat me like a black woman. So that talk didn't have to happen for me.
And I felt like it was clarified for me when her mom said that she didn't really explain to her or talk to her about being a black woman. That clip of Meghan saying she was never treated as a black woman went viral. It was, from the documentary. And I thought, oh man, like, even when I saw that clip, I still wasn't upset at her. And I told a friend of mine, I said, because she was like, oh, this is why I don't like her. And so my reaction to her was like, well, what did you want her to do? Like, raise her hand and go, hey, you know what? I'm actually a black woman. Oppress me like you do everybody. Like, no. But she
accountability matters.
I know, but she was raised in an environment, because I did always question, like, in the back of my head, I was like, okay, I hear what you're saying, Meghan, but you have a very brown skinned mother. And so you had to have seen or known, and she tells the incident about when her mom was called the N-word. You had to know that there were some things, going on that were different than how you were being treated, than how your mother was being treated. But when her mom explained that she didn't have those conversations with her, that confirmed for me that this girl grew up in a world where, yes, she was half black, but she does not understand or know what it is like to be a black woman in this country, because she wasn't treated like one, because she doesn't even look like one. And someone in that documentary said the same thing that I did. When I first saw that Harry was engaged to this girl, I had no idea, zero.
And she was a black woman. Into that.
She does lean into it.
Because she definitely straightens that hair, right? We saw those middle school pictures.
There's
a big difference in the way she looked then. And when you straighten that hair, you're getting up every single day, straighten that hair before Harry walks into the bathroom, get that hair straight, and her career, she never made it a point to say that, she was biracial or a black woman. It was always kind of like revealed later.
But her agent,
it was revealed later. Oh, by the way,
because he didn't know. And so then when he says I started submitting her, then I don't know what it's like. And so maybe you can tell me, because I know that you're mixed race. Like, do you have that whole, I'm not black enough for the black people, and I'm not white enough, or I'm not, I'm not black enough for black people, I'm not white enough for white people. Like, did you go through that, or is it a different experience for you because you're in Atlanta? And
yeah. I'm sure it is. I'm sure, I don't want to lump my experience in with Meghan, because though we're the same age and we're both biracial, like I said, I'm from Atlanta. I'm male. We certainly don't look like brother and sister, although we're both very light. She's probably a little lighter than me. And I'm not going to be pressing my hair, like this is, it is what it is. But, definitely in the middle school years, lots of people ask me, why are you black? Yeah. So, I would tell them. And then, but I think to like kind of bring that up as like, I wasn't black enough for the black people, white enough for the white. I feel like that's a childish thing. Like at some point you say, this is who I am. You tell people, they deal with it the way they want, and then you move on. But I feel like being hung up on that or using that as like an excuse for things, I think that's childish.
But here's the thing. I don't think that people asked her those questions. Because she does not.
When she looked like she did in middle school with the curly hair and all that,
she did in middle school. But I think once she hits high school and in her 20s and stuff, I don't think she's asked those questions anymore.
And why is that? Because she styles herself to where she doesn't look black, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But understand that's what you're doing. You're leaning away from blackness. You don't have any black friends. All your white friends, I guarantee that they don't find out for probably the first few weeks of their friendship that you have a black mother. You know, you're presenting yourself as someone who's definitely not black. So let's just have her have some accountability for that. And which is why she thought she could kind of get away with dating Prince Harry and race not being an issue, because she's not presenting herself as a woman who is even biracial, unless you ask her. You know,
right?
You have to ask her to know that she's biracial.
But that's the thing. I don't think anyone is. To me, she looks like a white woman. I would never I see you. I know. Okay, there's something in there. There's something
going on.
There's something mixed in there.
Is he a tall Puerto Rican?
I don't see that with her. If I had met her, it would have never dawned on me. Unless we went swimming and I saw her hair, I'd be like, wait a minute.
Remember that clip, that viral clip of Steve Harvey at the ESPYs where he talked about Patrick Mahomes? He was like, oh, he had his helmet on. I didn't know he was a brother. Then he took that helmet off. I saw that hair. You know, like such a big part of identifying black people is with the hair. So how you style it, you know, is huge, you know, so she, you know, again, this woman, she brands herself the smart chick. Let's not just assume that she didn't know what she's doing. Like she's obviously a very ambitious and disciplined person. Kudos for that. She's done well with her life because of that. But let's not act like let's not pretend like she just kind of like stumbled into all these scenarios. Like she saw the opportunity to go this way. She saw the benefits of it. She took it. She saw the opportunity to proceed this way. She weighed the benefits and she took it. So let's give her some accountability for her choices, because at the end of the day, for someone who wants to be famous and be this big activist and have power, the net gain has been a huge plus for her. So, you know, no tears for Meghan from me.
I wouldn't say I'm crying, you know, for Meghan. But I will say, you know, she was doing all of those things prior to meeting Harry. She was already being an activist. She was already doing all this work for women and girls. And, you know, Harry just, like, you make it seem as though this was a calculated scheme to like elevate her celebrity. And I don't see it that way.
No, I think it's opportunist. Like, so, all right. So she, as a young girl, she wants to be rich and famous. She said that, right?
Yeah, she did. She in that note to her teacher.
So I'm a girl. I want to be rich and famous. I go to Los Angeles to be an actress. So this is the path I'm going towards: fame and riches. Right? Now I meet Prince Harry. This is a huge gift, right? If my goal and my ambition is to be rich and famous, how better to get there from working on Suits? Some little show that appears on TBS or TNT and is taped in Toronto. Yeah. Then,
although I will say, Winston watched that show and he loved it.
Stop.
You know, I'm always behind.
Stop, Winston.
He said it's a really good show. She doesn't really even have a main. She's not one of the main. I mean, she's on the show, but I don't think she's a main character.
Right. So she's a supporting actress on a D-list show, and then you have the opportunity to, you know, coochie whoop Prince Harry.
Oh God!
Of course you go. And you know him being this.
So you don't believe she actually that they fell in love with each other. You honestly think that she saw Prince Harry and was like, "There's my ticket. There's my ticket to fame and fortune." Because you could say that like Suits was just a starting point for her. Every actor and actress has to start somewhere, and it took her a very, very long time.
Right, so
in the documentary,
41.
they say it. You know, she got lots of no's. She was persistent, kept pursuing it, and she finally got a yes. And yes was this show Suits. And so you could say that like that was just the beginning of her acting career. It just so happened she ends up meeting Prince Harry along the way, and then her life takes a different turn. But had that not happened, we don't know where this girl would be in terms of her acting career.
It's possible that she, you know, Shonda Rhimes scoops her up and puts her on like an actual good show, and that her whatever her character is, you know, catapults her to A-list status. It's possible. But when she's on Suits, she's my age, so she was in her 30s when she was in Suits. And we know that, you know, time ain't fair for women in Hollywood.
Right.
So basically she needs to make it happen before she hits 40s, or, you know, it's going to get a lot harder for her to become like a household name. So if I'm aware of that, she's aware of that. So again, meeting Prince Harry and him getting sprung on her is a huge gift. And we will never know what she feels about Harry because she's an actress. It's her job to play the role. It's her. Why do you think she was so good at, she's so nervous about going out in the British public and meeting them and shaking hands and waiting for the first time, but yet she's so good at it? It's because it's her job. She's an actress. It is her job to, when we step out this car and the cameras are on, to go. It's her job to put on the mask, put on the face, play the role. And if I have a girlfriend who's an actress and she can't act like she's happy to see me, she's a sucky actress.
I don't believe that this, you're making it seem like she's just pretending. And I don't see it that way. I think she fell in love with Prince Harry. He just happens to be a member of the royal family. And for her, she decided that she did not want to do all of the things that come with being a royal. And she was the first person to ever make that decision, it sounds like. And she had the right to make that decision. And so they bounced, they left.
All right. So if Prince Harry is not a royal, say he looks the way he does, he has the same interests, does she marry him if he is, just a struggling producer in Hollywood? You're saying yes.
If they met, yeah, I think so.
What you're forgetting is that negates a huge part of her personality, which is the ambition. Like that is a huge part of who she is. She said it in her fifth grade yearbook. I'm going to be rich and famous.
Right. But that's true for everyone, Eric. Like I'm someone who is single, who is looking for someone. And I'm not going to, no diss to people who work, at like McDonald's or Walmart or something like that. But I want someone who is on the same level that I'm on. And I think that she felt the same way. Like for her, he was a part of the royal family, but he also did all of the community work that she did. He, was doing stuff in other countries. Like, I think she was attracted to that part of him. I don't believe that the British part and the royal, especially considering that Harry is the second born. And so she was never going to be queen.
She still gets to go from Suits to royalty.
I get that. But she was never going to be queen, especially once William had kids. Harry is seventh in line. They would have to get rid of that entire family, Charles, William, Kate, and 3 kids, before William even has an opportunity. It's
not about being king or queen. She's still a royal. She still has access to all the trappings of royalty. Like she still has several cottages, Frogmore, Lancaster, Quindishire.
But if ultimately that was the goal, then why did they walk away from it?
I
get what you're saying. The goal wasn't to be a royal. The goal is to be rich and famous, like she said in her letter.
Comparison. Tina Turner walked away from Ike with nothing but her name. Why? Because her name meant something, and her name was the ability to profit in the future. The name, the fame was the ability to parlay that into a career.
Mm-hmm.
Once she married Harry, you and I know, and she knows, that's all she needs. Now she's Duchess Meghan. Now she is the Meghan Markle. She's not, what's that actress on Suits again? She's Meghan Markle. Now her name has cachet, it has power. And in Hollywood, if your name means something, it means money.
Mm-hmm.
So all the stuff you're talking about being 6th to 7th, who gives a shit? Because at the end of the day, she can parlay that into more cash in hand,
mm-hmm.
more tangible wealth if she is in Hollywood than if she stays there and she's just a cog in the wheel.
And she's done that. She's done that with her podcast. She's done that with this docuseries with Netflix, this big deal that they had with Netflix. But I also believe that she is truly in love with Harry. And not just in love with the fact of what he brought to the table. I believe that. I know I'm a hopeless romantic, but you know.
Well, I'll
keep my head in the clouds on this one.
Conversations like this reaffirm my hope for human beings. You know, listening to you talk about their relationship. You know, my wife is very much not as romantic as you, but you know, she's a good person. So you know, having people like you around just makes me think, okay, maybe being a human being is not so bad. So
yeah, I will say this though, after seeing the Oprah interview. And I don't listen to her podcast. I don't know if you do. I'm sure she mentions or talks about, things that have happened to her with the royals and Harry and all this. But after, the Oprah interview and now this documentary, and we still have to wait and see because it ends with, the wedding. And so now we have to see what happens when they leave the royal family and everything. I do hope that, at some point, they seem sad sometimes. And, I would love to see, I would love to see more of their, like that first episode, like their love story, like they're starting to remind me of, and you said it earlier, and I'm the same way. I'm not into the royals, but I was into Princess Diana. Like there's something about her was just fascinating to me. That's actually even one of my nicknames. My mom calls me Princess Di because as a child, she was like, you walked around like you were royalty.
Oh, wow.
and we were your commoners. And she had to remind me that wasn't the case, especially growing up in Texas. But when I see them, they look like, when you saw Princess Diana, she just looked defeated constantly. She looked sad all the time. And I want their story to be more than just this constant like sadness and reliving everything that they went through with the bigotry and the racism. And it's like, you've got these 2 little babies and like their life should be more than this. And I get it. They're capitalizing off of what happened, but I want them to move past that.
That's good. I agree that at some point the fame and wealth, like if you are wealthy because you're famous, I think at some point it's not worth it. Like a Diana, like someone
mm-hmm.
like Kanye, who's been way too famous for way too long.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Kardashians, I mean, they have great lives, but they probably also have quite terrible lives. So
mm-hmm.
I think at some point the fame and wealth exceeds, why it's worth it to be there. So,
and I think, there was a guy in the documentary who he said, he's like, I don't envy them. They live in a gilded cage. And I think a part of that is true. Like they can't do anything without someone telling them, what to do, what to say, how to be, what to wear. But I think there will come a point where people will be tired of hearing this same story over and over and over again. That's why I said,
woe is me story, right?
You had your interview with Oprah. Okay. Got this documentary. All right. Let's form some new.
Why else should we care about you, right?
That part.
at some point, it's gonna
sound like a broken record.
Exactly. So you're looking forward to what's next, their next chapter, right?
Yeah. And I don't know if people will think it's as interesting, but you can't keep playing the same song over and over and
Yeah.
over again. Like we've heard it twice now. We listened to you.
All right.
And I'm still team Harry and Meghan, but you know, I need another chapter in this book of y'all.
Bam. I think we leave it there. I think that's a perfect point to end on because I totally agree with you. So
You agree with me? On that part.
On that part, yes. So we'll continue to watch the docuseries. So far, worth the watch in both of our opinions. The takeaways slightly different. But anyway, that's it for now. Unmitigated Gall. Thanks for watching.